Hey guys, it's Maymay and it's time to talk about our machines and do a little overview of the onboard features. So that's what this video is, and this is the third video in your class prep series. It's the last video you need to watch before time for the class, and I hope you will enjoy this one. So this is a Cricut maker, and we're going to go over the features of the machine itself, and then when you take the class, we'll go over design space and how it works together with the machine. But the maker is the newest on the market. This is the white version, the very first one that came out. And what you do with this one that's a little bit different than our other machines is this one you just lift the lid and then the base opens here. Now, as you can see, and with all of the Cricut machines, you'll find there are two carriages. You have an A carriage and a B carriage. Something that I think is real important to remember is that the A carriage is for your accessories, like your scoring tool, your markers, things like that. And your B carriage is for your blades of all kinds, which I think is very interesting. Now, this machine now has this little slot here in the top, and that is so you can place your iPad or your phone in this little slot, and you can actually work from here while you're working with the machine. Now, this class that you're taking is a laptop class, more than likely, unless it's specified, so we won't be doing that, but I want to point out what that little spot is for. Here in this area, there are two little cubby holes. There's a blade down there. We'll talk about that one in a second. But these little cubby holes are fairly deep. This one's super deep in the back. I can't even get to the bottom of it. So those are super cool for storage. And in the bottom, they have a rubber base so that it doesn't mess up your blades or your pokey tools or things when you're putting it inside of there. This area is onboard storage. You can see we have a lot of stuff in here. One thing I really love is how deep they made the storage on the maker, because the blades, the specialty blades for the maker, are a little bigger than what we're used to if you compare it to like the traditional blade. So having this nice deep housing is great for that. There's a magnet bar inside of here you probably cannot see, but it is so you can store your extra blades for these guys. So this is the traditional blade housing, okay? And what you'll see is if you push this little button here, or this little pole, your blade is exposed and you can now remove it from the housing. This is your actual blade, and this is magnetized inside there so that they stay together. So this little blade can be stored right inside of here on that magnet bar. Now, something I want to point out about your regular blade, and this works for both machines. When I load that in, I just kind of drop it like this and let it fall in, and then it will catch, eventually, there it goes, it'll catch the magnet. Sometimes when you're cutting things, if your paper is tearing or if it seems to be dragging or what have you, you'll want to take your blade off and check it. And most people will take it out and look here and go, I don't see anything, but they don't press it and maybe find something deeper inside of there. That's what you need to do. And to clean it, don't use your fingers. It's best to have like a little paintbrush near your work surface and use a little paintbrush to clean that off. Any little particle can mess with you too. Glitter, a tiny piece of paper you can't see, but that's a good way to clean the blade. Now, I always recommend using the German carbide blade. You can find those on Cricut's website or anywhere blades are sold, but I like the German carbide version. This is your traditional blade housing. This is your deep cut blade housing. These are the ones they came out with before. These went with the regular machines, the Explorer Air 2, and these are the original ones. We just happen to have them in here because they store in here really well. These are the new blades. This is your scoring tool. This is your blade tool. Matter of fact, I'll take this cover off so you can see the blade. This is your blade tool. And then this is your rotary blade. This is the one that to me is such a game changer. This is the blade that makes it where we're able to cut fabrics, and so many different, mostly fabrics work really well with this, but it works good on other materials as well. Then your blade tool that works with, these only work with the maker, by the way. Let me clarify that real quick. These blades that look like this on the top only work with the maker. So these are the different blades. There's also, is there another blade? I can't remember. I think this is the only ones. The scoring tool is super great as well. It looks like your rotary blade, but it's not sharp, and it scores the paper nice and deep. Don't lose your little protector for this blade, because that blade does stick out right there. All right, let's load a blade into the machine. I think I'll load the scoring tool. So you can put scissors in here, your weeding tools, whatever you might want to use for your for whenever you're making your projects. That can store right inside of here. I don't have this laid out correctly. You do have to kind of offset those so that your little door will shut, but there you go. Now, on the maker, you have some buttons. This is your power button here. This is your load button and unload. This arrow that goes up and down is going to load and unload your mat. This is the little Cricut head, which tells you to press this when it's time to go. This is basically your start button. And you have a pause button. If you start doing a project and something goes awry, you can press pause and it'll stop where it's at. All right, let's talk about this area. This little dude right here opens up, okay? And when it does, it releases this section. Now in a minute, I'm going to show you the other machine, and this doesn't happen on the other machine, but it does here. With your blade, this little plastic protector here is the part that goes to the outside, and this gear that's inside meets up with that gear inside of there. So what you'll do is you'll just place your blade against the gear. It'll just kind of balance there for you. You're going to close the silver door and bring the gray door over it and shut it into place, and that's how you put your blade in. Okay, now this side works similar, except that it doesn't come off, it just loosens, so you can put your scoring tools and your markers and things like that in there. When you take a marker class with us, or something where we're talking about, you know, writing on paper, things like that, we'll talk more about this in detail, but that's how that works. And that's pretty much it. You'll notice this one doesn't have a wheel because you don't need to set anything on the wheel anymore. So that is sleek and clean and nice, and we love this machine. That's pretty much the entire machine. I do want to turn around and show you one more thing here. One thing about the Maker that's different than the Explorer, either of the models, is it weighs a lot more. This guy is very heavy. It feels as though it's made with mostly metal construction. Here in the back, your power cord goes right here, and this is your USB connection. So if you want to connect this straight to your computer with USB, you can. However, this machine is wireless compatible and it's built into it, so you don't have to have anything special to make that happen. But if you want to use your USB, you can do it right there. All right, let's look at the other machine. This is the Cricut Explorer Air 2. Now the Explorer 1 and the Explorer are very similar to this, and I'll talk about the differences as we get into the machine. Now these machines come in lots of colors, and that doesn't really change anything except the color of the machine. This is one of the original colors here. And to open this machine, you press the button that says open. This is my son's favorite part. He says this is like a spaceship opening. Notice here this machine has a B carriage and an A carriage, just like the Maker did, but if you have an Explorer 1, you're only going to have one carriage. I don't know that they sell those anymore, but you could have one of those and it would work with Design Space, and that's perfectly fine. So if your machine only has one, don't worry. That just means that all of your accessories and your blades go in the same housing. Where with this one, we have an A and B. So again, just like in the Maker, this is your A housing, and this is my scoring tool from Cricut. So it's got the little score here. This is the original scoring tool before the scoring wheel, and this guy sits in here. And anytime you put anything in here, you want to put the arrow where it's facing down, and you want to support the carriage as you lock that into place, and you'll hear it click. You never want to just take it and push straight in because it could break the carriage. You don't want to do that, and you see I just moved it. All right, and then you lock it down by closing the little door. So now my scoring tool is nicely set. It's the same thing with markers. And anything else you might put into the accessory side. The blade, here's what's different on this one. Notice how this one doesn't open all the way. This one is much like the A carriage over on the Maker, but your blades just slide in and out. That's that same blade and carriage and holder that I showed you earlier. Actually, this is called the blade housing, by the way. All right, we just lock that in. Now this one has two pockets. It has a small one here with a magnetic bar, and it has a big open one here. This is not as deep as the Maker. You can still put a lot of things in here. You can put your scoring tools in. I'll take that one out. Your weeding tools and things like that. And your blades have a little spot that they nestle right over here, just like that. So this is a nice little place to put your housing and then your magnet bar right there. Close that down. Now this one does have a little hole here on the side for storage of things. It does not have that little rubber piece in the bottom. It's just plastic. And this one has a cartridge door. Now here's the thing about the cartridges. You don't need cartridges anymore, so there's no real reason to purchase them, because now all cartridges can be purchased digitally on Design Space. So this was here so that if you purchased this machine and had a collection of cartridges, you could sync them to your Design Space account. You don't actually use the cartridge in the machine at all. When you put it in here, it just let Design Space know that you owned that cartridge, it was yours, and it gave you access to it. You never really need your cartridge at all anymore, which is really cool. We don't have to have the overlays or anything. But if you do have some cartridges you want to sync, this is where you do it on your Explorer, Air 2, and Explorer. On your Maker, you have to purchase a little adapter for it, but most of the time, by the time you get to the Maker, you don't have cartridges anymore anyway. You're just using Design Space. Over here, Big difference. Here's your power button at the back. This wheel turns to set your paper. However, I don't use that anymore. And when we get into Design Space, when we start looking at that together, you'll see why. We don't use this. We only use the custom button because everything is set through Design Space now, which makes things super easy. And I don't even have to worry about this piece at all anymore. Here's our feed button, it's our load in and load out. Here's our Cricut head or the go button, and here's our pause button. That's pretty much the machine. I'll show you on the back that you have the same ports for your power cord and your USB that you have on the Maker as well. So they're right there on the back, USB and power cord. So that's it. That's the machine overview. They're super easy to work with. And as we get into Design Space, it'll all start to make sense how Design Space works with your machine. All right, guys, the next video you will watch will not be a video at all, but the live class. You have watched all 3 videos and you're ready now to take the class, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.